So review this and decide that you're confident to run through this list, or that you want to leave this or that out. Okay, so I propose we get started. I just explained to them what format.
Perfect, and I just hit
So
record.
should I lie over here for those
we
who
can
are working
swivel.
on me? And I told people they have like 6 to 8 minutes.
It's
to do
almost
this.
easier if you use this one because then you're sort of in the middle, or that one. You
That
can
one?
move up and down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put my head down that end, I guess. If there's a stool down there. George and I worked this all out
Which one?
last night.
I will take the lights when I leave a little early. By then, we're not really focusing on recording so much. And do we care about the sound? Should I use those again? Maybe.
I'm not sure how much the online group is going to get out today.
Ron, can I ask like a practical
Of
question?
course.
Are the people who are coming aware, one, of the live stream, two, of the recording, and do we have their consent?
Good point.
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Oh, I think it should be
All right,
like,
I'll warn people.
yeah, I think one, the live streaming, and two, the recording
Okay,
is important.
okay, good point.
Okay.
And what if I think it'll be fine, but I should have taken care of this already and I didn't. I
Oh,
apologize.
like all the parameters, you know.
Should I send
could-
that email right now?
Maybe. If you have their contact information, that would be lovely.
Thank you for
Yes.
keeping me honest.
Thank you, Christina.
No. We were about to try on him the things,
Like each of us or what are we?
each of us.
Whatever you feel like you want to work on for something.
And what if somebody has a problem? We're going to shut them off.
Or-
For
Yeah,
that
like
reason.
he is asking. for
Perfect.
that.
Thank you for doing Right, the
Something
question
that-
really
Anyone
is,
has an objection, we don't.
well, there are students here, so the priority is everybody gets to learn. So it's letting them know we will have some students also on live stream.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
main
what
thing.
he's doing.
But then secondarily, we can ask, if you're okay, we would also record it. No, I don't know what I'm doing yet. Well, the record is secondary,
Yeah,
We don't
would
have to
with
record.
their permission.
so we just want them to
They
know that
they
there will be
be-
some students appearing from online.
We have your permission.
So I have a question about this in terms of,
Not
Is it okay if I put this in?
problem.
I don't know if it's working. Try.
Okay, let's try it. And sometimes there's one or the other.
Or-
Then we can decide whether the light or the. sound is more
sound.
important. I have the
So they have to
same.
send it out 6 times.
working.
Otherwise,
Amazing.
everybody's got another person. It seems important for me to forewarn you that our workshop is being live streamed and also recorded.
I would say
Do we have
live
your
stream for
permission?
some of the students who couldn't make it in person.
Live stream for
They
students
want to know why.
yeah,
who couldn't get person and also recorded. Do we
And then
have
no,
your permission?
secondarily,
We might, yeah.
we would love to record if we have.
I'm saying, do we have your permission? If not, let you know if the problem with the live stream, the recording, or both.
I think that's more complicated, but I can do it.
Because I'll just say fine.
Okay, you know your people. So
I
that's cool.
hope.
I have a question about the live streaming part
Mhm.
for us.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Mm.
I found it extremely difficult to tune in to things with a lot of voices in the room. And so I'm wondering, like, is there a way we can like limit that? Or, I mean, I know it's like if they don't have someone explaining stuff to them, you guys, hi Susan, hi, I can see what's there, you wanna. Like, but it's just really challenging. There's just a lot going on for a practice that actually requires silence and stillness. So I just want to like name that and say, is there anything we can do to help that at least for part of the time, or like?
How?
I actually have some ideas. but
Great.
Oh, so no, say.
No, also because for them, when you get excited afterwards and you're talking,
Right,
and he's
they-
teaching,
Right.
that also didn't work.
Of
So it went
course.
all ways. So my fantasy would be we'd have some silent times. And then we kind of hold our debriefing with each other. We all do it, and I ask him not to teach anything new during that time.
Yes, for sure.
And then we have listen to Ron times, or Martha, or any of us. So just,
Right.
that's why at some point I would say,
Yeah,
and I can do that. over there,
And do
too.
you think that would like combine well with not moving this and have it focused on the work that's being done on one person on this table?
I thought this table might be better, but
Okay,
just because of the lighting.
okay,
But I agree with you that it's sort of not moving around a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe that could,
Also
Yeah, that
calm
also
the
helps.
energy down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you, Michelle. I think we all can use
A
even
little-
more.
Okay, this time, we'll take
Thank you.
lack of
See what happens.
thank you for
communication
doing that, Ron. Yeah.
take as a positive sense, or well,
We can check
shelter
it.
first.
Exactly. the shelter they want.
Yeah. Or we can do-
We can keep practicing on each other, so there's no.
And when we're working on these people, is the idea that, I know you have to leave early, but for as long as any of you are here, are you gonna be there also like observing and?
I am. Ron is gonna be receiving during this hour. I'm not.
When I'm
Correct.
patient here, I'll be like, I can do whatever you think.
He
I
can
should do.
monitor.
I mean,
I
no,
can
but I'm
read the
talking
room.
about when the patients are here.
I'll be here, that's a good thing. If
Yeah, it's
the room
definitely
is
good thing.
crowded, I'll sit down.
So he'll be here to back up if we have questions.
Okay, so now it's 11:14,
Yeah. So we're gonna do this.
so for this very peaceful, calm. We're now gonna
And
go.
you have about 4 inches above your head. If you do like your feet on the table, you can have that option.
So is it relevant if they hear like some kind of picky comment I'm making to somebody who's working on me?
Of course.
Okay.
We all learn from feedback.
Okay.
That's the table, okay. So who would like to start?
Well, we're all gonna practice.
And we all have our partners in the other tables, so. So I would love to work with Christina. Would you be willing? You and I could be over here.
Okay, so we're just working on
I've shown. You can also.
Is this yours?
So let's go back to.
Okay. And I don't know who's done. Is this yours?
Nope.
It might be Angelina's.
Yeah.
And this water?
Now that feels fine. Yeah, what you're saying,
Yes.
slightly off. It feels like I'm slightly rotating to the left. Is that what you need? So is that just the way you have your hands crossed, like one is over the other? Okay, so can you dip it down or without change?
This here, no, that's yours.
So you're like this, you're like that. Yeah. Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Or you want to
Trying
follow
to, I
through
haven't
this or
made
you
a
want to
decision
shoot
as
this?
to how.
So.
So,
I'm
guys,
going,
maybe.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
We need to.
I'm only sharing this because I think I'm not the only one. Please consider having someone mic'd, like if we're listening to Ron or if we're listening to the person who's working on Ron, because the sound today, without going into too much detail, it's very challenging.
It's very challenging. Great. Okay.
But also, I totally understand that
No,
this is the challenge of the hybrid model, so
No,
I can adapt.
Yes, actually, Natasha, I can hear Natasha like crystal clear, but I cannot hear you really hardly. I can hear you. And this is, I think, also for us, but also for the recording for the others. I think they won't be able to.
Christine, yesterday Martha was instructing us through Zoom, but someone else had the mic on, so we didn't hear what she was saying, even though she was demonstrating, because the other mic was what was sending all of the sound through. So we could barely hear Martha and we didn't really know what she was saying,
Yeah,
but we
exactly.
saw the
Becky,
demonstration.
I'm gonna cut to the chase and say we're aware of that.
Okay,
We're
great.
gonna only have one mic on. It's gonna be on Ron and we need to start now or we're not gonna get to do what we need.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thanks. So-
Guys, thank you so much for your understanding. Also, what we are going through is like what we consider challenging, working. So maybe if you have partners, work on what you consider challenging as well. and we will have a little bit of time for questions before people come. That sounds good.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Christina. Yeah. So,
So Martha, your idea is, let's all practice a technique together.
exactly,
Okay.
based on whatever that one person chose is fine.
Okay, so Angelina wants to work on CV4. Okay, so that's what we're all gonna do. And her initial question was, it felt like she couldn't get her thumbs even. And that's sort of illogical because one hand is crossed over the other. So I guess technically you have to kind of like counter rotate a little bit to adjust for that. And once she did that, everything was like one. So that's where we'll start. Okay, so are you all doing this now?
It's not turned on.
She also mentioned that there, in addition to the vertical traction, there's also.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I see the problem.
Narrowing component.
No, I would say drop down on the right a little bit more. Yeah.
Can you hear Ron?
And now if we wanted to get really picky, you're slightly flexing my head on my neck. Is there any way to drop your, so instead of being like this, to be, yeah, 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 yeah. So she dropped her wrist. Much better.
That's so awkward because the hand.
Dropping the wrist was something I had to.
Yeah. There's so much more to the hands.
So can you refresh your dropping of the wrist even more? Okay, good.
Yep.
A bit louder, okay. I'm good at being loud. I'm not good at being quiet, so you're making life easy. Okay, this feels good.
No, it's fine actually. It's hard, but it's hard.
So you're feeling successive waves of where you can take up more slack, correct? Okay, great. I feel good, like I'm getting calmer.
Amazing.
Ron,
Yes,
is this one just about vertical traction?
yes, with a somewhat of a component of narrowing.
Right. Now it's
Remember the thumb pads?
Yeah. This feels good, Angelina.
Yay. Yeah, I feel what you're talking about with the successive slack.
All right, so in theory, you're going to feel like a still point occurring.
Okay, because if you tell me, it'll make me feel that. Okay, good.
And I may not be totally entering into the experience because I'm also talking, but I'm trying to go with the flow here as well.
Oh, like trying to figure out if it's the position of my hands or that you're. Oh, I know. But well, I'm curious about. So here's the thing: is that this side of my hand, because it tends to, I think, push the head a little bit. But I also feel.
That feels pretty like a still point, or close to it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes, I feel slight restriction here.
So do you feel symmetry right and left as well, or asymmetry?
No, I feel that asymmetry. I feel like the left side has a little bit more freedom in it.
Okay,
Actually, the right side's kind of stopping me.
okay, so keep going another cycle or two.
Right. I'm just curious. Except for us. Exactly right. can follow That's a perfect question. This is one where I'm definitely listening to the rhythm.
Yes, and you're following the rhythm. You're taking successive waves of slack
Right.
as the body allows you to. Now I feel you're losing your medial
Yeah.
motion. So if there's a reason why you're doing it,
Mhm.
that's fine. But if you're not, then like, remember that's part of it too.
Yeah. Mm. Trying. It's also a level of fatigue
Yeah, okay.
of the hands. Yeah.
And this table may not be the right height for you.
It's not the right.
In your own office, clinic, you'll have it at the right height.
Yeah.
You can also use your finger pads to do this technique. I sometimes do, but I think I like this thumb thing much better.
I feel like I would have more control of the fingers.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Angeline is repositioning her hands in a flat finger pads, right?
Flat finger pads.
Right, and here's the location. It's not, this is the atlanto-occipital joint. It's a little further superior.
Yeah.
Here's where you want to be.
Are you shifting
Okay.
into the compression?
No, we're shifting into an alternative version of the CD4
Okay.
using the finger pads. Okay, but shape your fingers in a more relaxed way. Yeah,
Okay.
but but now you still have some weight of my head on the heels of your hands.
Yeah.
Should be mostly on the fingertips. Better.
Okay.
That's your starting point.
Interesting.
And keep that shaping idea going. Yes. And then the motion is the same. The superior traction. Don't tense your fingers. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. That's
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
The little subtle things that make a difference. We're all imperfect. Yes.
Could you show with your hands how you shape them?
Yeah. I feel like
But it's not like that they take a shape. They shape to the contours of the skull. Right.
But so sorry,
helps to see.
yeah, which part of her hand is on the same spot that the heel was before?
Here.
That's not, like, not here, but okay.
Oh, well, maybe I'm feeling it wrong. It feels to me like it's the distal digit and the
Yeah.
medial digit mostly
Are on.
on my head.
Like, are you talking now about the occipital joint, or are you talking, I think that.
That's different.
I'm talking about the occipital bone.
The bottom of it.
Well, I'm not talking about the atlanto-occipital joint.
Right.
That's the joint we contact in the suboccipital decompression technique. This is on the occipital, I think it's called the ridge or something like that.
Yeah,
The nuchal
Or the
line.
nuchal line.
so.
But it is down south.
It is down south.
It's down
It's
south,
down
and it's not
south.
as wide. It's not like, the
Right.
heels of my hands were out on the bone by her ear, almost.
Well, they shouldn't have been then.
Closer to.
No, then they shouldn't have been. They should have been narrower. Because if you get too close to the ear, you're on the temporal bone.
But you're saying the direction of the ear.
Yeah, it's.
So if you're trying this other alternative, figure for yourself, you have more weight on your heel of your hand now. Yeah, you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
better.
a different, like, locus for the traction.
This is good.
Okay. Yeah, I feel the difference now.
So Angelina's been working on taking the weight. She's got her finger pads as the contact point. She's been working on taking the weight of my head away from the heels of her hands and have it be largely on her finger pads.
So there's a little pressure there.
There's pressure there, but there is, right. So that means you may have to like dip your, no, you wouldn't dip your wrist for this.
curl my
You'd be
fingers
the
a little.
opposite.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, the danger of curling your fingers is then you lose the shaping and the flat broadness of the
I mean,
contact.
a little bit.
Okay, fine. I trust you. I trust
Like,
you.
I feel the flat of my finger.
Okay, good, good. You're permitted then. All right, perhaps we should move on to something else. Sorry to cut this
No,
short.
no worries.
Okay, next customer over here.
Next customer.
Or I should say, any questions about that before we move on?
And could you actually look at the chat? Or
Yeah.
I'm not moving.
So now, Sherry or Michelle, I'm gonna be great and just say, could one of you decide that you have another hold you'd like to prep? Or is there an optimal order? Should we do,
For the purposes of this, let's not say there's any optimal order.
when you get to work on Ron?
I think since I did it wrong yesterday, I should try to still clean up the ankles again.
Okay. I'll turn around. I'm staying here.
Oh, we can, are we switching partners too?
Y-
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, right, so I get your.
right. So now we're working on still point induction using the ankles as the contact points. So she's holding my ankles with her fingers underneath and her thumb across the top. That feels good. And now I assume she's listening. I don't feel any
I am.
active palpation, which is fine. So I'm noticing for myself that my right leg hangs more in external rotation. So of course, it's too late now not to put the thought in her mind, but I was wondering if her palpation would come up with something that correlates with that.
Yes.
Now I'm beginning to feel a slight external rotation drag that she's creating actively. And I think she'll feel what I'm experiencing from the inside, which is there's a lot more give on the right side than there is on the left. But she's tractioning both sides in the same direction of external rotation. And I'm feeling a second wave of her taking up the slack. Her touch is pretty light, which is fine. I like it actually.
In this position of the hands, I feel like I have access to a kind of movement via friction, but not a lot of ability to like really rotate my.
So
hand
can you
position.
place your hands like over the ankles like this from the top? Try
I
that.
don't think I'll feel as well. Let me try. That's kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's an alternative.
There should be some
So now
actual movement, like really small, right, in terms of the outward rotation.
there should be motion of the connected tissues. There doesn't have to be motion of the skeleton.
Okay.
And I think there's some like really hardcore craniosacral therapists who would say the amount of actual movement is pretty minimal.
Yeah, okay. But this feels
Does
like.
this feel better? Easier for you?
Well, it feels that I can sense more because I don't have the weight of your.
Okay,
legs on my
cool.
hands.
So maybe this, either this is a better way or it's a way that at least everybody should try.
There's also time when you're doing that maneuver, I'll call it, when the peripheral vision is all that I see. Like, if I'm noticing any movement, it tends to be the peripheral. The external and internal rotation of the arms and legs.
So if I feel like there's resistance in both sides, like it's hard to go at all,
Yeah.
is that is that ever reach the still point, or is it like I need to like go slower so it'll gradually release, or?
I would say the answer is yes, it is the still point,
Mhm.
but like wait a little bit for, like the time of 2 or 3 more cycles,
Okay.
just to see if the system will give you even more slack, kind of as a double check.
Mhm. Two sides feel a little.
Oh,
Do you feel that way? Slightly.
I feel some sort of overall, like you're gonna call it a relaxation response.
Mhm.
I wasn't tuning into the 2 legs because my right leg is still flopped open quite a bit more. So, or less so?
Less so.
Oh, cool.
It
Okay.
actually looks like
Oh.
the left is caught up a little bit.
Okay. Okay, great,
Or
good.
no, wait, I've got it backwards in my head. Yes, you're right. Your right is left open more.
Okay.
But they're
So
more, they look,
more closer to them, even the way they were.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it feels like the resistance was more happening on both sides.
Yeah. Oh, which is good. So it's even.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
More even.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then you've done your job.
Or I imagine that I have.
Or you imagine, yeah, good. I'm with you. All right, so any questions on this maneuver before we move on? Yeah, so your touch is pretty light to me.
Is it too light for you? Like, would you prefer?
Well, I wouldn't say too light because it's actually,
Yes, it was very like just right.
I would say it would be interesting for me to feel a firmer version of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I really wouldn't say what you're doing is wrong at all.
You really wouldn't say what?
That what you're doing is wrong.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that a lot of people would prefer it.
Yeah, I mean.
Actually.
For something where like, I'm trying to sort of move you in a particular direction, I feel like a hesitancy to use anything that feels to me like force or.
Okay,
But.
go, that's fine. That's you. But,
But I don't know, maybe
but
it's okay to use a little.
you might try it,
Yeah, see
at
what
some
happens.
point. See what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. Yeah, so try it since they're just chatting. So try something like, and you won't be able to get into the whole like experience. What if it was something like this?
Right.
I mean, that's not heavy,
It's not heavy,
but it's more than what you were
there's
doing.
more sort of like will
Motion, yeah,
to
good.
it.
So just try it. Just see if you feel like that you could do something like that. Like I would
Right, so
hold,
this is
I would
kind of
hold
what I
more.
was
Yes, that's kind
doing.
of what you were doing.
Okay.
Right.
And then if I wanted to like,
Yeah. Yeah. Now that feels fine to me also.
yeah. I mean, it's just more information more quickly for me too. Like,
To go
because
less.
through that movement, there's different things happening.
Right, so lighter, you get more information. You're sort of saying the same
Well, I'm
thing.
saying the opposite.
Oh, you were?
But
Oh,
not because, I know why, like, yes, sensing it, I feel it more, but I'm aware that like more is happening.
oh,
for me
right.
to pay
If
attention
if
to
you
I
move
go
it faster, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Well, it's not really faster. I mean, it shouldn't really be faster, but it should be more like
Just going
concrete. So
further in space.
I was going faster than I would go
Uh-huh.
because I wasn't like paying attention to craniosacral rhythm. So it could be the same pace, sort of.
But just a little more.
A firmer,
Yeah.
and you might go, you might, there might be a further overall extent of motion too.
Yeah.
No, you did, that was great.
Just try it sometimes, see if you like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next person,
What's next?
but it should be Sherry because she's got to leave. Okay,
You want to work on Ron? and then-
okay, we'll do Christina. We can take a little time. We can take a little time
Do you want to hear the
after our
question?
oh, do we want to hear their questions? Sure. Okay. Do I have to scroll up? Very good sound for me, but
No,
Still-
they have been.
Just, we can ask them, anybody have any questions?
They have been addressed.
But
Oh,
so it's more
okay.
just verbal.
any questions? No, no, no. Yes, good. I like no questions.
Okay.
I mean, I like questions too, but
Well, we're
some I'm
working on
feeling
it.
anxious for time,
So you
so
get to-
pardonnez-moi.
I want the
Okay,
same.
so now Christina is going to do something or other.
I am going to work on Ron and I'm going to do the sphenoid.
Oh, very good. Good choice.
Christina, we didn't hear you.
I'll say it again.
Stand closer to Ron, maybe?
Christina is going to do the sphenoid compression decompression technique.
Yes, just say it again.
I'm going to do the sphenoid compress decompress technique on Ron.
I love how you say my name.
So do you want to share? I would share it.
So she's just placing her hands on my upper thoracic spine as a general way to make contact, which is kind of nice.
Can you talk us through it a little?
Or I am. She's placing her
Yeah,
hands on my
well,
upper thoracic
continue.
spine, right. Now she's placing her hands under my skull. And she's got her thumbs on my greater wing of the sphenoid. And her positioning is pretty good. Except I'm going to move her right thumb a zillimeter inferior.
Say that word again.
A zillimeter. Now I'm starting to feel a compression force very gently, which is fine. It feels to me that my left sphenoid is moving more freely than the right. Is that what you're feeling too?
Mhm.
Isn't that great when it correlates?
Ron, can you say more about the bottom fingers? Are they just
The-
resting?
The feeling I'm getting from Christina is they're just kind of hanging out, which is fine. You could also, one could also like cradle the occiput more, which, so she's shifted a bit. And I think I like that even better. And even here, these lower fingers are on the top of my neck, as opposed to the occiput. Can you get them even more like just on the skull, like there? Or does that throw your alignment of your thumbs off too much?
Don't have long hands to make it to the. Okay.
That feels better. Now, if you can't do it,
No, no.
that's fine. So I wouldn't say the fingers would be like trying to move the occiput, but they're creating a stable base. The way you're doing it before was also fine. But I suppose with every time we touch the person's body, we're also teaching them something about their anatomy. And the more precise we can make our teaching, the better. So I feel the compression occurring, and it's firmer than she was doing before. That could be a byproduct of the way she's repositioned her hands. It's still nice. Yeah, I like it. This right thumb feels like it should be there. Now I feel something shifting. I guess she's going to start to decompress. Yeah, I'm getting now anterior glide feeling towards the ceiling. Correct me if I'm not narrating this correctly, Christina. Or you can also say something. This feels good.
And I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there any way that you happen to know or could share with us where this juncture of the vasosphenoidal, I'm making it up, is related to like the mouth or just the face?
Yeah, hold on here. So I feel like your motion here is a little bit more inferior, like you're going this way, not just straight up. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so Martha, that's a good question. I'm thinking I would be, the question is, what's the relationship of the spheno-basilar joint to the face? Like, what's the anatomical relationship? And I'd be more happy to be looking at an anatomy book when I was answering this question. But since I'm not, I'll say that it's slightly below. Okay, like let's take the jaw off the face to begin with. The jawbone, the mandible. I would say the spheno-basilar joint is very in front of the face and slightly below. Yeah, that feels like it better decompress now because it's got a clearer direction or a more accurate direction. Do you feel what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah. I swear to God, I once had a patient when I did this to her. She said she felt it was like making love with God.
It feels like what?
Making love with God. That's so cool.
I won't tell you what it felt like to me. It was the one thing that we've done.
Now you're getting a little more firm, almost. No, it's yeah, but don't give up your traction though. Are your fingers, is that like sort of limit of how much you can stretch your hand? So try using your fingertips instead. Yeah, so shift out of that. And just do the decompression part. Oh, wait. Maybe there. There we go. Yeah, see, I'm liking this better. You have a broader contact and you can take it a further extent with ease. So between you and me, I typically would use the fingertip contact or the finger pad contact for this decompression more than just the thumb.
Or I could use this for compression aspect
Compression.
so that they get the support from the
Right.
occipital as well.
And then switch.
And then switch.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's another option. Okay,
Okay,
are we
great.
good?
Yep.
Okay, any,
But you didn't finish, they're gonna take a while for the transition, but you didn't finish saying where in the face, I don't think.
I did, you, I
Below.
said, let's check the anatomy books. And I said, like, if we just get rid of the mandible and don't think of it as part of the face,
Right.
the spheno-basilar joint is quite a bit behind the face
Right.
and slightly below.
Below what?
The below the bones, the facial bones.
But I mean, there's so many, so like.
So let's look,
I
let's go,
basically said
let's go to the
behind
videotape.
the back of the mouth.
Let's go to the videotape. Since the answer is I don't exactly
I
know
don't
myself.
either, that's why I was asking, and I think, I said to Michelle, I
I'll
think
show.
it's kind of behind the back of the top of the mouth, so.
So here would be the skull from above, the inside of the skull, and the spheno-basilar joint is right here. All the facial bones are sitting like up here. So there's like a little, it's a hard picture to see those relationships from.
I know.
Yeah,
So, but I think it's sort of behind the mouth, the top.
Are the wings of it vertical or the wings of it horizontal? Oh,
With a slight.
the greater wing of the sphenoid itself is level with the eye, not the mouth.
The eye, the bottom of the eye,
The
greater wing.
the greater wing of the sphenoid is level with the eye, but
Right.
the greater wing of the sphenoid is above the part of the sphenoid that articulates with the occiput. But I'd still say it's above the mouth. I would say maybe it's like the space between the nose and the top of the mouth.
Beautiful,
Okay,
yeah. that
okay,
feels
that feels right. All right, we'll go with that. Okay,
rather
so we got time for, where's Sherry? She disappeared? What? Sherry? She has like 5 minutes. Okay, you want to do something, Martha?
So,
I know she's leaving, so I was hoping to catch her.
everybody, but you live in the same town, so we don't have to worry about shit.
I suppose. I mean, when did it?
Why don't we just go on to Angelina doing the next one?
Okay, so we got time for one more.
Or whoever, could be, well, in that case, let's let it be, Christina, because she was the furthest. away.
Yeah.
So right now Adrian's
Does that feel- I didn't really-
it's gentle.
So Christina's
I'm
going
going,
up to bat.
and I'm going to work on frontal lift.
And here's Sherry. So we'll switch Sherry.
Forget about
Sherry-
that, Sherry.
So we're not gonna do it. Sherry, come over here,
Well, we picked
please.
the technique for you.
Or we pick frontal lift. Is that okay with you?
Remind me. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, great.
But I do want to say something before I touch you.
Go
I'm
ahead.
having horrible cramps. And I'm
Oh, dear.
really not feeling well, so I don't want.
You want to pass
I
on the
do.
whole schmear?
Well, I actually have to go in 5 minutes, but.
I know, that's why we want to fit you in
If we wanted to-
quickly. If that's okay with you.
Yeah,
You can,
I mean, I think
yeah,
it's
this is
okay.
not, you're not required to, okay.
So,
This feels good,
okay.
except you also have the weight of the heel of your hand on further up my skull. That's better.
Is that better?
Yep.
Mhm.
So I'm getting a nice vertical sense from her, but I'm not getting this like finger thing on the corner of the eye, like flipping open the lid,
Mm.
which is only slight anyway, but yeah, that feels better. Do you feel like you're getting this effect, like lifting the lid up a little bit more with this finger,
Mm.
at least in your own imagination,
Yeah.
and take the weight off of here?
Oh, take the weight off.
Take, yeah, don't, the
Okay.
less contact with my, yeah. So it's the finger pads.
So the finger pads are not even the knuckles. Like,
Okay, a little more, you can get a little more there. Whatever that is. Perfect. And you're feeling the right side floating more than I'm sorry, the left side floating more than the right, correct? That's what it feels like to me.
They're very different. I'm feeling a lot of things. When you say floating, you mean vertically?
Yes, like your
Yes,
tissue,
agreed.
my tissues on the left side are stretching more. That's what it feels like to
Yes,
me.
It does feel that way. And I
Right.
don't know if that's because my right hand is not even or.
Right, well, you never know.
Exactly right.
So let's assume that you're feeling something in my body.
Mhm.
Now you're losing a little contact distally in your fingers.
Really? Okay.
There. I mean, this is super picky. You get that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's good. Because you want that.
There, this is good. It's like you're lifting off the top of my skull to let the light shine into my brain.
Hmm.
This is good.
Is that the curve of the hand that the fingers that you're showing me?
No, I was going to see the time.
Oh.
This is good. Yeah, I'm feeling the pull down into the sacrum.
Hmm. You feel a shift there in something?
Not just then. I guess like I didn't
Yeah.
notice like a moment of
Okay.
shift. I'm finding the whole thing pretty relaxing. Very good. Any questions?
I don't have any questions at the moment.
Any questions? Well, we can get together sometime.
Yes.
We live, as Martha said, we live in the same town.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna remove my microphone so I can go to the bathroom.
Someone else can talk.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Hmm.
And we'll check to see
Sherry,
who's
do you want
showing
to
up.
talk to the group on our line? Say your goodbyes or whatever you need.
Let's see if there's anything in the chat. No. Natasha, bye Natasha, bye everybody. Susan, Tegan, Becky, Juana, Gita. So good to see you. Yeah. I would love to know how this, to hear more about your experiences with this.
It was like a little aside. Oh my God.
Hmm?
It's not just a little finger off. No, I mean, using the phones to press opposite like that.
Have a good time today? Thank you. Sorry. No. Guys, maybe what will work best for you to communicate if you have any questions about specific techniques or I don't know. Thank you. Anything that would work for you.
So that I can do with Sherry.
If there's extra time, at any point, it'd be great just one more time for each of these techniques to just see the hand placement with the fingers wherever it is.
Why don't we do it?
Um,
Because
let's
won't be a
do-
lot of time. I'm happy to do it here. If you put your head here. Or is that working?
And let me-
There'll be no more contact. Okay, so the first one, you have a choice. Oh, is it on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Very great.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're good. So because I'm kind of rushing because the people are arriving. So the first one has this, this, or this, aiming for that. So wrapping around the skull, you can, yeah, there you go. And aiming this towards the side of the occiput, which is not too narrow, but not too wide. So kind of behind the ears back here. Is that helpful? Not here, but at least an inch or so, 2 inches. I'm going quickly. Are you okay with this, Angelina? Sorry, I'm being so rapid fire. So that's that. That's one. Okay. Number 2. Can you do it from that end? Number 2, what did we do? Sphenoid? So thumb, there's the zygomatic ridge. So we could come in. I'm going to tilt your head a little. There's her cheekbone. I can rest right into that little spot. I'm going to focus down and towards.
Martha, I wouldn't, it would be here.
Right. But
As
so
a-
I'm not on the bone, but
Here.
above it.
You're above that bone, right?
Right.
But
In
it
this.
I
whole-
wouldn't say you're on the top edge of that bone. I would
I'm
say
saying
you're-
that's the beginning of the depression.
Okay, fine.
And then, thank you. And then there's like a pit and it goes all the way up to
Right.
the eyebrow.
Right.
So you're going to nestle into that somewhere. Depending on how fat your fingers are, you're going for this real soft tissue downward. And you're aiming towards that space between the nose and the mouth in your mind from both here and these fingers, which are here, shaping into the sphenoid from the occiput. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but there could be a feeling of squeeze and release. I'll do it once. You tell me what you think. So that would be the squeeze. That would be the release. Okay, I wasn't really in her rhythm or anything. We're just positioning. Third one from the top can be a little overlapping the eye bone, the top of the frontal. The frontal bone is the top of the eye orbit together with the ethmoid and a few other things. And this was a question we had, Ron, about the thumbs. But the main thing is you're finding the edge of the bone here. So I don't know if you can come above, maybe here. There, yeah. So finding the edge of this bone, you'll feel a depression and catch it with that. Now you're less about the bone and more about the energy. And then it's an upward pull. And it can go downward, but most people like the upward. Okay, we've got people waiting for us, I think. Hope that was helpful.
Good thing you're doing that.
People wanted to know when you talked about the thumbs this way. Is that a parietal thing? Like, did you ever say something? about
Yeah, in the
crossing?
parietal, you might want to cross the thumbs.
Okay.
In the frontal, yeah, you might want to press the thumbs against each other to kind of
Ground.
ground yourself and get
Okay.
them out of the way.
Great. Okay, now how else can I?
Probably an official way to do it,
And I'll put
and
this
I
back.
don't know what it is.
So now, you all, it's really you doing your own thing. It's practice time for everybody. So you can either just listen and watch and learn and see what we're doing, like watching a case study, or you can do with your partner or just on yourself, whatever you want. It's really free time.
So should I start bringing
Yes,
people in?
please.
Randy was here when I was down before. and
Okay.
maybe other people now.
And I- Yeah.
I just moved that.
Oh, you
that
did?
it's more
Okay.
easy to see
Good. I
what's
was just kind
there.
of smoothing this down for the person.
Good, that's good.
It's on.
No, because they said there was too many different sounds.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Martha. Hi, Randy.
That's it,
And we can
Alina,
keep working on-
Christina, Michelle, Martha.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Who wants them?
One of you three, and then we can work on each other too.
Well, we have two more people.
Oh,
showing
they're
up.
all.
Not here yet, but they
Yeah,
do. have
but they'll
12.
get here. Yeah,
Right.
no, but I mean, we can use the time. Are you okay with the other students being on the phone? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
You got that email.
Yes.
Amazing. Communication. So, anybody want to work with Randy? Don't be too shy. They're actually really skilled body workers. Even Christina, how about it? Thank you. You can talk to each other a little. Great, you got it? Do you have a stool?
Yes.
Great. So what Ron's been teaching us is this protocol, and we can all kind of be doing it. Do you two want to work together until someone comes? Or do you want to watch us, Angelina? Do you want to work on me, Michelle? You already did that.
Yeah, why don't you work with Angelina?
Or Angelina can work on me now. Do I still have a mic on? That might not be.
Maybe not necessary.
My right knee is just gonna be the forward dancer, and it kind of feels like just right in here, you know, it's getting kneeling too much. Sure, you kind of feel it. And my lower back is always, my lower back is always very welcome to work. You know, yeah.
Yes. But see, here's the beauty. So the more you take the gesture up straight vertically from me. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Say it's touch. You can also get the count. You get a anchor there. When I do this, I do it more. Like I'm really moving the bone. Now, whether you're big or wrong. You know? That's how I do it. All right, let's see it forward. There's also I'm only grab my fingers apart. No, my fingers. Yeah, to create the pressure on the thumb base against the pain. Yeah. And decompress. So I was showing her this. This is the grip. And I actually almost like pull my fingers apart asymmetrically. Therefore, push the weight in my heel. So that's an option.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys.
Yeah. Fingers. Yeah, but not like that, like this. Yeah. So you got enough space.
Yeah.
When you see that deep breath. There you go.
Okay. Pop up.
Hello.
This is Paulette.
Hi.
This is Jared.
I'm Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Nice to meet you.
Jared, why don't you lie down here? This is Michelle. She'll take care of you. Paulette, this is in.
And you don't get to pass
Oh,
go
and
till
you
you
know
give me
Mark.
a
Oh my
hug.
God. That's so funny. I didn't recognize you behind the
I
mask.
know, you told me you were coming, so I knew it was you.
And this is my son, Jared.
How you doing?
Jared,
Jared, nice to meet you. Glad you're here.
My socks off. Socks on. Keep them on.
And your head's gonna go there. and then
You
you're
know
gonna
what?
go, but you
Let me
can
just
say
turn
hi
the
first.
phone off.
Good
That's a good idea.
Um,
I'm gonna grab actually my notebook.
I know, we all fit in a small space. Is that a, sorry.
So Jared and Michelle.
Jared, Michelle. Yeah, we're gonna keep that. It's either way.
We did it.
We did it.
Here's
We're
an
doing
extra
it.
Chair, maybe I'll bring it. Do you want to sit at all?
I'm okay now. Okay.
If you need to angle the table differently.
usually it's just body science and motion major Marymount. And
Yeah, yeah.
and she was at Rutgers.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I'm from New Jersey originally, so I know all about Rutgers.
So what should you and I do?
We just
Play a little canasta? while-
We're here if anybody has questions.
Yeah. I know, there's a lot of people in this.
That's what you'll be doing. I'm on screen with these guys, just so you know. No. So hi, everybody. Just thought maybe if you have questions, I'm actually here with Ron, which is an extra plus. We thought we'd check in. You want to show us how you're working with someone, if you have a partner, or if you just have a question, we can take a few minutes, and then you might want to go back and check those guys and see if they have questions. But you can stay here now, just hear what theirs are. They seem fine, but I'm just saying, if we get into a long one, then it'd be great. Okay.
I don't have a partner today, so I'm just observing the sessions.
What are you seeing? I thought
think-
we'd like to hear more of the interaction of kind of what people are going through, but.
Yeah, yeah. I think the time, the holding is something that I'm really resonating with, and the time, not rushing through to fix or accomplish, or, you know, just that holding and allowing that process to happen. Yeah, I felt that yesterday doing, and then I can, you know, by observing, I'm seeing it at a different level.
I would totally agree. In the silence of the room, the mind state, what we call the mind state, CSF, so contemplative, meditative, is palpable, right? You just feel that silence, that stillness, that quiet. Other things. Anybody? Was Becky did I don't know if you're still here, but were the handholds clearer? I was moving pretty fast.
Yes, very helpful.
Great. And I wouldn't mind feeling the parietal hold again, because I didn't feel it, so I don't feel like I could teach it if I weren't with you. So we could put this.
You want to sit on that stool and get behind you?
Uh-huh. And this could be maybe up on here. We're just gonna see if we can get the video,
We're gonna do a seated version.
but you're gonna be behind me, so
Right.
what do they see best? I'm gonna try this.
That looks good.
Yeah, is that enough of your hands up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here would be my hand position. If I'm lower down, I'm on the temporal. If I'm too far forward, I'm on the frontal. And I've got as much of the flatness of my finger pads on her skull as possible. And I've got my thumbs connected up here just to kind of give me some anchorage.
So they're sort of touching like that.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's kind of for my own convenience. Kind of. And then I can also, it's a better, easier way to also correlate what's happening on the right side with the left. Because really my hands are working as one unit. And I'm just creating a vertical lift, superior lift, traction. That's about it.
Great.
Does that
And-
feel good?
Yeah, it does. And would you do a compress with this?
You could. You could
And-
do,
and are you
I
aiming
could do
for
so for
about here?
compression. I'm going to raise my hand position slightly so that I can traction down on the parietal. And then at some point I would reverse to do the decompress. But if I really, another way that I would do the compression is I might do it like this. So now I've got a finger under the mandible, and I'm just going to use my thumb on the parietal. So now I'm going to compress the whole, basically side of the head, the parietal, the temporal, and the TMJ together. And then eventually switch and do the parietal lift. Or I could do it unilaterally. Let's say there was a disturbance on the left side. Then I can get, by using two hands, I can get like more of a broad contact, both on the parietal and on the mandible. Or I suppose I could do the temporal parietal suture. So now my left finger is around the temporal bone, I think. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. And my right finger is around the parietal. Temporal parietal.
and then decompress. So those are different variations.
Nice. Oh, with the mandible ones, are we encouraging people to just like softly let their jaw close and open, or you just see what happens, or is there anything that you're instructing?
I'm not instructing them to open or close their jaw.
Do you find people hold them open or keep them tightly closed the whole time? It doesn't matter.
I don't really think about that, but I guess to say, "Oh, relax your jaw" is never the wrong thing to say.
To have a little.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So that's my question. Anybody else? One more question before we go back to the other room. We'll be switching out with different clients pretty soon. How you doing, Natasha, Melissa? Joanna, nice work.
Just observing without a partner, it's very difficult because the positions are impossible to do, like the
So
skull.
this last one you actually could do.
Yeah, you could do that. You might have to use the heel of your hand under the jaw.
Yeah, I was doing even this one, the last one of the temporal into the parietal.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm all out of alignment. Like,
Oh, you're because of the arms.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect. That's why.
But one of the things that I am doing on myself is, I think the technique is called holding.
The still point?
And still point. I have to read more. And I'm practicing using I'm practicing the broad base, the broad positioning, which is new for me, totally new for me. I think when I've touched people, there's been a focus on my fingertips. And it's interesting to awaken this part.
Your pads. So
And it seems more indirect and more open. Like I'm more open to receiving information as opposed to fixing something and directing the information I want to receive. So that's been good practice even with by myself.
That makes sense.
And that echoes, just for those of you that have done it, the bean bag, the receiving of the weight of the brain. We want the whole hand rather than little pinpoints, because that's going to like touch different bones. The more your hand is like a balloon that the water balloons in, also resonates with that.
So can I say something about techniques you can do on yourself?
Yeah, you want to sit here?
Okay, sure. So you have to tell me if they can see my skull.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a CV4 on myself. I'm contacting with my hands with sideways. Got it?
And you're thinking,
right. I'm gonna do a suboccipital release on myself. I'm gonna use my thumbs.
I'm gonna move his hair so you can really see.
Right. Now I'm pressing that, or I'm lying on my back. So the action is going to end up pressing the atlas forward. And then when I shift, I'm going to shift and do a kind of a vertical traction by hooking my thumbs under the occiput.
So more at that nuchal line again?
Now I'm below the nuchal.
Okay, under it.
Right. So there's all kinds. I can do the parietal lift on myself this way.
You might want to turn sideways for that.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a parietal lift on myself.
How about this way? Like, so it's more on that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yep.
I like this better.
Okay, interesting.
Sphenoid, if I were lying on my back, I could just use my fingertip here and press backward to compress, and then pull forward, decompress, and just count on the gravity of my head to be the stabilizing force. I can do an ear pull. I can do a temporal twist. I could do a mastoid wobble. I'm going to lace my fingers.
Now you have to turn around again.
Okay, I'm doing a mastoid wobble. And I'm lacing my fingers here so I can press on the right. I can press on the left. You can almost do everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Now
That's super helpful because you just gave permission to like reverse. So instead of the fingertips being where my fingertips would be if I was on a working with a partner, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Like if I'm doing it on myself, I didn't realize that that was an option. That's
Sure,
very,
so if you
very
follow the
helpful.
anatomy of the bones, then you make up the hand position that you gotta use depending on this context.
So we have to remember that the people that originally made these up were osteopaths, not dancers. Ron's also a dancer, so he totally gets that you can use different body parts to get at the same thing.
Mhm.
I'm gonna check in.
And he also speaks French, I've noticed.
Maybe.
Martha, what was the name of the one that was the mandible decompression that we were doing with the partners? Where we were finding the ridge, the ridge of the mandible and pushing down, compressing and then decompressing?
That'd be the TMJ compression, decompression.
That was part of that. Okay.
Yeah. And the mandible is just one of the participating bones of the temporomandibular joint.
Right. Okay.
Temporal is that temporal bone,
Mhm.
mandible, and joint where they come together. And then, we can get into that anatomy more, which is that there's an upper and a lower part with a disc in between. But the main thing is you'll feel at the jaw. You might think your jaw's down here, but it's also up here. So
Mhm.
finding those two sections is pretty
Really
interesting.
happy.
Great. You want to do more?
You want me to share some other?
Yeah,
things?
why not?
Or should
Or-
we show?
Well, I think the main thing is those bony, like for each of what you just did very quickly, really where the bones are. Why are you carrying around napkins?
Oh, because I was waking up. I ruined my chairs in my office here
So he's
by leaving them outside in the rain. So I'm feeling aggravated.
Yeah.
So the temporal bone is more or less like around the ear, comes up fairly high, maybe that high,
Mhm.
comes here. Part of it here comes kind of forward, maybe it's around there.
Does it join with the zygomatic?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's the
cheekbone.
zygomatic process of the temporal bone, which also forms part of that zygomatic arch. So the back half of the zygomatic arch is part of the temporal bone. The front half is part of the zygomatic. I could call it the zygomatic. I don't know if that's correct.
Me either.
Yeah. So here'd be one way to do the temporal twist on myself. But I think I'm liking this better now. So I think I'll do it this way from now on. Because then you get a broader feel of contact. The parietal bone that comes all the way up to the top of the crown of the head, comes back maybe to about this far back. Not sure. It's also hard on yourself.
There's a parietal occiput junction.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so
there's-
pretty far back.
In the back, there's the occiput, but let's say it's a triangular shaped bone.
Mhm.
And then the suture between the occiput and the parietal bone. is
Can you do
called
the other side?
Lambdoidal suture. Maybe. I don't think I have this exact, it's my own skull.
Mhm.
Maybe it's sort of like a diagonal here.
There you go.
There. So this is the end of the sagittal suture. Between the two parietal. Maybe here. Then it comes like diagonally down that way. Diagonal this way. In fact, here's the opposite.
So he was tracing the joint, but really outlining the whole occiput.
Right.
Mhm.
The sphenoid is a very contact surface on the outer side of the face there. That's the one that has to be the most exact.
So above that cheekbone
That cheekbone
and
below
below
the brow.
the
and-
brow.
yeah,
So like
and
it-
behind, pretty much even with the corner of the eye.
Mhm.
Right. But the best is to get a skull
Mhm.
and work with that, or at least look at a picture book of skulls. And then feel your own skull.
Nice. So we don't have to belabor this. I mean, you've really learned everything that was aimed to be taught. Maybe you were here earlier when we were reviewing things like the still point. As Ron said, we didn't do as much with unwinding, but really just going into a pattern, following it, waiting for the flow, working with it, improvisationally with kind of listening mindset as well as kind of felt sense
movement, like I would call it the small dance in contact improvisation, will serve you well with unwinding. And then, yeah, so I want you to feel like you use your time well, like if you're enjoying just being in the zone with us, great. If you feel like you've had enough, fine. If you have more questions and we're in the middle of talking, if you could type them in, great. So interesting and playing around with your own, whether you have the sound on or off, all of that kind of thing. So if anybody wants to say goodbye now, we have one more set of people coming in. So we might hear from people talking about their experience in a few minutes. I don't know. Do you think you might invite them to ask them?
How do we want to use the time?
It depends on if they're finishing up in there. So that would probably be a good thing to check, like whether anybody else goes.
I want to say goodbye and thank you so much. It was
It's Joanna in Paris.
yeah, so rich. Thank you so much, Ron. Many things to absorb and a lot of sensorial input actually throughout these 3 days. And yes, and this precision along with the abstraction of the sensation that cannot come easily. It's very nice for reflecting for the future.
Well, thank you so much. And let's hope together at some.
So she's at the site of the Brain, Body, and Cognition Conference in Paris this year.
Oh, cool.
So if you want to go to a conference,
That'd be fun. And is
the end of August, first couple days of September.
very good. Are you a
That
researcher?
will be
Also?
great.
Are you a researcher also?
I'm an architect basically, and now I'm doing the somatic research with Martha in the past
That's
years.
fascinating.
Yeah. So I'm just in the combination of body conscious design and how to mingle this.
Very interesting.
And I've really enjoyed yesterday getting into the Fox and the Tentorium. So those, I don't know if I said that right, cerebelli, just as space harmony, spatial pulls. And so I think work is very architectural, actually, this precision that you talked about,
Yeah.
but then also playing with dynamic tensegrity versus building block, fixed, stable architecture. Pretty fun. So thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go back in the other room, but you can go ahead first.
Do you know
Oh,
Galen Kranz?
Yeah,
Who is
I am-
also involved with body-centered design?
She created it.
Well,
She named
really?
it. That's her
She-
term.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I see. Or do you know Galen Kranz?
Oh, sorry. It's just the sound just broke and I couldn't hear you.
I know he was asking if you know Galen, and I have introduced him. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I had read her books before for my research, and now I'm
Oh, very
relaunching.
good. Okay. Well, I'm adding nothing new here.
So-
Clearly to conversation.
Yeah, when she applied, it was like, oh, this woman, I need to connect her to body conscious design because she's
Right,
already
'cause
doing
she's-
body
she's
conscious
the one.
design.
Okay,
And she's from
Exactly.
Greece and living in Paris.
very good.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'll say
Great, nice to
goodbye, all of you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So again, you're welcome to stay and say thanks again or circle around, but I just wanted to give everybody freedom to say it's going to be more this kind of silent, observational, quiet time. And there will be a transition now with clients. So I'm going to slip in there and just have the video on and not make a big deal of it, but you might hear them talk about their experience a little bit if that's interesting. Does that sound good? Anything else need-wise or just requests? I'm going to slip out when the second group comes as they're finishing up. I won't stay for the debrief. This is Christina's computer, so it will go right till 2 o'clock our time. So you're welcome to stay, but I will also say a very quick goodbye just in advance because I need to get back to the city. And I have no idea what the traffic will be like. Yeah. Cool. So study the skull is all this, the real message here. Study the skull.
Thank you, Martha.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we can all have a lot of fun playing with that rhythm of the head extension with the tail spinal lumbar flexion, and then the spinal lumbar tail extension with head flexion as you play with the CSF now. That's to me something that when we did it, I remember, I think I've told this story to you all a few times, that when I first thought about Graham's work, and I said, oh, that's craniosacral, because you're contracting here, but your head is up. And then you're releasing here and you might look down. So I knew that, but somehow I'd never really, in the last 5 to 8 years, I haven't been teaching that clearly. So I really enjoyed this review for me too. Okay. Great. All right, I'm going to carry it into the other room. Does it drive you nuts that I'm moving? Should I turn the camera off? Look away if you get dizzy. Yeah, just so everybody knows, it's like time to sort of find transitions, talking, checking in, ending. Let. There's a nice feeling in the room. 6 people being this still, 7. It's a special thing. How you feeling, Jared? Don't know yet. Have you done CranioSacral?
Huh?
Has Ron done CranioSacral?
Yeah, yes.
He tends to mix it with a lot of stuff when I do sessions with him.
That CranioSacral.
Yeah, so what you just did was a full, 40 minutes of
Oh, okay.
one type of touch
Yeah, yeah,
that's moving the fluid around your brain and spinal cord,
yeah.
and also affecting the fascia that it pulls on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll be
What's,
happy to hear any feedback. You have. Any part of your experience, I'd just be really curious to hear. When you're ready.
Yeah, I know you had a question. Yeah.
was incredibly relaxing.
Fascia, right, connective tissue. So it's what wraps the muscles, but it also turns into ligaments and cartilage. I mean, it's different. Cartilage is different, but it sort of goes into these different places. So it's sort of everywhere in the body. Keeps the muscles separate, supposedly. Sometimes the fascia gets sticky. It makes them all kind of belong together. So it's part of muscle tension. Now, what we love about it, we're talking to these guys, fascia kind of creates tent-like structures versus bones, which are considered more like columnar stacking.
Yeah.
So like the holes on the body can distort you, but also even you out. That's what we're working on. These are the students of mine in Paris and Arizona and British Columbia. And they're trying to do their best to learn this from afar. Yeah, good to stand up. Yeah, I think you all know.
You're amazing. You're amazing. So sensitive. You got right into my head up there. I was like, oh yeah, right, that hurts too. Right about that. Oh, right. Just breathe. Right. He's really very sensitive. Beautiful. Yeah, I could feel your energy. It was just helping me. I've been going through a lot of emotional stuff, and I don't always acknowledge it because of cancer and.
So we're all done here.
They're wrapping up.
A bit, and even though I do meditate.
You look wonderful, so relaxed.
It was very relaxing.
I feel, I mean, like, yes.
Hi. You guys are working really, really hard. Thank you so much for sharing your process with us. You're on mute. We can't hear you. Martha muted the computer. Can you unmute the computer, Christina? No problem. Don't worry about us. Do your thing.
That's perfect. You don't want anything, how can you get any better than John? Was it? Was great, very, when you sample. Sometimes it's a good day where you going to. Real good. Not one of those fake guys.
Very nice. Very hopefully restful experience.
That's wonderful. Because no, I don't know. You know, because maybe some people don't notice it. You but with these, but it's very well, I obviously cannot bother me at the as I got used to like you have 10-year-olds with their and on a bicycle rack, and I can talking to me some. But that was good. I put my ass back. Just a lot of
I feel like
so I would anticipate tightness if you want to but you know
the way I was absolutely sure is that I concentrated and I could feel the pressure here increased and then decreased. And then I said, oh my God, I would feel it holding. And I said, it was really very nice. Very well done.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's any specific other things we'd like to share. Makes me happy to hear it.
And you, well,
This is all brand new to me, so we just learned from Ron in the last 3 days. We're all movement people, but we just learned day specific techniques.
Sure.
So you've never done this to me.
We don't do much communication.
No, we don't.
Okay, I guess we gotta start doing it.
I know, and that, this is the way you're getting everybody on.
Well, yeah, that's good. But I also, I love the German ladies.
Another big part of my practice is indicative exercise.
Oh, yes, I know it. Yes.
That's great.
That's
Yeah.
also connected to.
I'm big on that thing. Yes. I think I was in the same training class.
Yeah.
I don't remember years ago.
Yeah.
But I certainly know, I mean, I met her.
I don't know if that's your energy putting out or.
You look bright.
You're the star.
I think this is off now, I'm not sure.
I think it's on, but the people left.
Oh, okay, same difference.
Oh.
But we want to keep it recording for the.
There's like a remote version that's going on at the same time. I don't know what these people got.
That's
But
great.
I think they got something, so. I'm
Well,
hoping
that's,
that.
I think
These people are great. I mean, it's amazing.
So you saying you're a little person?
I hope so too. I think.
Well, I mean, I come from a theater background, so a lot of my training is in that context. I'm a CMA level. Okay, that was gonna be kind of one of the rounds of my work, but over the years, all kinds of
Okay.
things. But I don't have any training in body parts or anything. You know, hands-on, so I'm not body.
You could have fooled me.
Oh, no, it's, we had a lot of this with the clients, so my body knows it from that experience. Yeah, so now I'm like, oh, that's what she's been doing. Thank you very much for inviting us.
So we should start like a clinic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can, teach this for years, on
Okay.
a number of years as well, so, yeah.
We'll have it here.
She's got her own full life. We get together, we have something in common, and then he has, packs it. Yeah.
I went to your Thanksgiving party.
More of a,
Oh, the after party. Yes.
She invites me to the Thanksgiving
it's
party.
definitely more.
It's outdoors. It's like the 1 year, it's like 20 degrees below zero.
Oh my
Remember?
God.
Or I remember. because I wanna say-
It sounds like what you're gonna have to do.
Ron is not, you know, not insulated. Yeah.
Thanksgiving is like,
But, you know, if we just decided, you know, let's just invite a whole lot of people, have Woodstock,
How you are
Army,
feeling the tension on the
band,
right side.
lots of booze, lots of, and it was, we did it for 9 years straight.
Oh my God.
The pandemic got us. Oh, it's,
Yeah.
you know, what do you do the day after Thanksgiving? Right, you know, it's a dead day. And you're really ready to get away from whoever you've been with, you know? And most of the time. And, yeah, we had a great, we had some great parties. And the deal was potluck, but no turkey.
Yeah, right. No leftovers, right.
We had a lot of chili.
So minimal. Okay.
Oh, there, I just sent him a little. That's mine too. Like this.
So you're just, this is, how many have you done now?
Sessions like this. There's our second and my first one was right before.
Yeah,
Okay, so like 2 rounds of things.
That's amazing.
Definitely,
You're a very good teacher.
Yeah,
We must, yeah, so I would have never, you know, maybe I would not said
Yeah.
Round up, you know, having a patient.
And
A lot.
I'm
Yeah.
personally going to follow more
People need to be more in touch with their bodies.
Jared too, he says like, I was feeling like this, it's going on my forearm. I was hoping she was feeling it too. because it's so
Well,
strong.
he was having like.
Circulation or something.
Like, I don't know what you call it, it's like,
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah.
Things like that. It kind of, it
Yeah.
kind of comes down a little bit as we went, but there definitely was this feeling of like wanting, the pieces wanting to be connected. Like there was a lot happening.
I
So
figured
what
you-
did you feel?
I'm anxious, and well, I felt, it was interesting that we were talking about this thing, because when I was doing something that wasn't, creating.
Now we don't have to push people out.
There was I was trying, one of the things that we're trying to feel is.
Yeah, we're fine.
Sure.
Obviously, I think-
And so
I think everybody has
I think everybody left.
signed off. Yeah, so we're good. So-
Well, you might teach that.
Or we'll have it for the spot.
There was some.
Really.
It seems like the most wonderful experience that everybody had. Only totally super positive feedback. So y'all was good.
So I guess you weren't so crazy to
I didn't plan
think
this.
of having, we were like, this is insane. We've only been doing this for 2 days. And
I-
actually
yeah,
it was
well, I
great.
feel like the episode, and, you know, you all were up for
Well,
the-
that's
up for the challenge, so we're doing fine.
What did
And a
you
pillow.
learn?
No, there's this one here that
Yeah,
I
good
finally
question.
realized gave us more
Because I
chair
was,
room when we moved
Oh, wow,
it.
that's a
Yeah.
serious pillow.
the transition was
The
abrupt.
transition, yeah, like what do you do? The transition
What
between
do I
people?
do?
Yes, that
one
was a
thing I
question.
might do is I might work more superficially and not get into like such a deep trance that you felt when you
You mean if you have short succession and many
Also just
succession?
And I don't use CranioSacral even all that extensive.
But yeah, I did feel like going from one
From
deep,
one,
intense
Yeah, I
experience
really-
to the other.
That's what I said to Ron. If I had some feedback for ourselves, it would
More
be
time.
real, go wash your hands, clear the energy.
I did go to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yes,
That
yeah.
helped.
That was
Yeah,
super.
I agree.
Sorry, I rushed everybody.
That's
But,
all right.
you know, Yeah, so that's a good question. I should probably pay more attention to it for myself.
Yeah.
and how long, like, would you have 15 minutes in between?
What-
Like,
Would me, no. Because I'm trying to see as many people. I mean, often I do. but
You
it's
happen
not
to have
a
it.
happening, but I'll schedule, well, my
But you're
typical,
not doing CranioSacral with everybody.
correct. My typical treatment schedule is every half hour. Sometimes people who I'm gonna be doing more CranioSacral, I'll make it long, because I know I've got it. That's what I
and the sessions last how long?
do. 30 minutes.
30.
If it's even a
Because he's a
CranioSacral.
chiropractor.
30,
how that's
it
usually- yeah.
could go longer if it's CranioSacral therapy, maybe up to
The medical-
45,
Oh,
or
wow.
sometimes an hour. Yeah, I don't,
You don't do the full on like body work session. Like in body work land, it's usually an hour or more.
But he's
Yeah, but
doing
why?
more body work through the chiropractic lens.
yeah, like,
Right.
I don't, okay, like, there's nothing wrong with an hour.
Right.
But where is it written in the Bible?
No,
Like,
no,
your
no. It
massage
depends
an
what
hour.
people need.
Right, well,
I mean, I can never get, I mean, I do a 2-hour massage and I still need more work on me. Like I'm like,
right, but it depends on what you need, but also depends on what your mindset is in setting up your business.
Yeah.
In a way. Now, if it's an hour, it's because what people expect and you like, there's nothing wrong with it,
yeah,
but
I had
there's nothing written in stone about it. either.
no, sure.
So like you said, the 2 hours is still more than I need, right? Or there's
It's
still
not-
more
it's
than
still
I
not
would need.
enough, yeah.
So I feel it's like a massage an hour, I gotta relax for a whole hour. I got TV shows I gotta watch. Like, get me out of here.
And I
You know,
think
and there's other people, a lot of people are like, we like that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't
Yeah.
wanna lie there for a friggin' hour.
yeah.
Also,
Although if they did, they wouldn't they be better off? Or-
But some people also don't, like massage therapists say to me, yeah, your body needs more time than some
Right.
people. Like some people, they come in and you're like, what do I have to do here? Like, there's just not.
Right.
that
Right,
much
they're
going
there
on.
for comfort.
Yeah.
Deep healing or whatever. But I do have to say, like, for instance, when I was in the public school system
Yeah,
and we only had 20 minutes, you can do a lot. in
you can
20
do a lot.
minutes.
You can do it.
Oh, I felt even today, I was like, I got to a certain point with her, I was like, I'm kind of done.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Did you
Yeah.
have the same experience?
yeah, with Tom, I was kind of wondering when, like, at what point in the session we were, because I was kind of done with what I was doing.
The protocol.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
And that's where it does, again,
I
lead
didn't follow
into, like, the
That's
dynamic.
fine, that's fine. But you still felt you were done. So it's
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
knew-
didn't follow the protocol at all either. so.
Yeah,
I didn't, I felt I could have more time.
more time.
We-
Yeah.
He and, I mean, everybody enjoyed their sessions. Oh, but maybe in both sessions.
In both sessions, I
yeah.
felt I would definitely use more time.
Yeah, right, so you know, set up your own calendar up the way this can work for you. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. and
Two
In your
questions.
business.
Can you remind us the TMJ and also
That's
how
funny.
do we work, again, say something about how do we work with the organs?
Okay,
So two things.
yeah, that's,
Just so you know, he did demonstrate some for the other group.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have a little on the video, just, so I
Great.
just wanted you
No,
to
that's
know about it.
perfect.
okay,
I
so.
just
it's still
quick
So what-
reminder.
Like I said,
Oh, were you guys doing additional teaching on video?
Little
Yeah,
something.
That was really nice.
Smart, that was smart.
That's cool.
So the method I chose. These fingers
There.
here,
Here you were working.
under the
Yes,
jaw, but
yes.
kind of towards the
Yeah.
back.
Mm,
And I'm gonna anchor my hands
Yeah.
here,
great.
and this will feel like the compression
Mm,
phase.
mm.
And you're going vertical
Yes. This
towards
is
you.
my motion.
Yeah,
Then I'm gonna shift my hands from here, I'm gonna shift up to there,
Mm.
and I'm gonna take the contact away from the temples. And I'm just gonna decompress this
okay.
inferior.
You have to leave?
Is that clear?
So
If I eat, then I
your
can stay a little while.
fingers, where do you go?
I can't do this.
Right, you're going
No.
this way,
Please
Yeah,
don't.
this way.
this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try it on me, Tennessee.
This one, I forgot this one too.
But then we showed another
I think
technique.
the only one that I skipped.
I'm gonna use my hands this
It's
way.
we don't have a mic, so.
Oh, that's what you were showing. Great.
Right, and then I can press like this.
Mm,
And some people like this better, you get kind of get a better grip.
mm.
Where you can press. We try on me.
I enjoy the lock.
Yeah,
Lock.
but-
It's really better on the side, actually.
Right.
Okay, Ron, I catching you with two more people that I had before.
Okay,
Now.
well, not-
So I do want to say that when you're in a place like this, you can run outside, put your hands on the ground, and that shifts the energy a lot.
Really?
Where else you?
Hand in mud.
I would go a little bit
It doesn't have.
there.
Oh, there, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're almost behind me.
Mm,
Right. A little bit.
okay, so that's compression.
Try that.
Oh, under,
Yeah,
okay.
so you're actually under the, you're actually squeezing the bone.
Squeezing the bone, okay, under,
Yeah,
okay,
that feels better.
okay.
And then we
Yeah.
talked about the difference of coming from right at the
Right.
temporal
And
bone
then-
or from the parietal.
And then the decompression, it's not the reverse way.
Yeah, it is a reverse.
Ah, it is the
But you have to
reverse way.
shift your fingers.
Yeah,
There,
okay.
Put your hands on the skull. Like
so you're above the ridge that's at the
Mm.
bottom. You feel that?
Yeah, I hope it's good. Okay,
Okay,
great. And then the other one is, I don't know if my.
yeah, but don't touch my throat.
No,
With
There
the.
you go.
Yeah, that.
I went right on my high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hold on. There. Yeah, that's quite strong, but it's fine,
Okay.
but I'm getting a much more solid feeling.
So let's see,
That's
Yeah.
okay.
compression.
So
Great,
so
and
a
then
lot of,
the-
a lot of
okay.
cases that would be good,
Oh, I
Okay.
missed it.
okay?
Yeah, yeah.
That was for decompression, that.
You would do both.
But
I was doing
Above.
decompression,
Yeah.
I
Now-
started.
now, okay, visceral manipulation, now that, like, okay, I get 5 minutes, right? Okay, great.
The whole
So the way I think about visceral manipulation is, it's not like the liver, we're not directly affecting the metabolism of the liver.
Mm,
We're affecting the connective tissue sheets that the liver floats in.
mhm.
So any beneficial effect it's gonna have, you have to like be then a side effect of that,
Mhm.
Yes.
as opposed to a direct.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so they're just physical bodies that have physical characteristics. So lie face up. So the hypothetically, the craniosacral motion of all of the internal organs or the abdominal organs, as they extend, in other words, as the front body surface rises up,
Mhm.
they also move laterally. So it's sort of like part of that external rotation.
Okay,
right?
okay.
That
great.
makes sense.
So here's the liver, right?
Mhm.
Here's the liver.
Is this related to like suspensory ligaments and stuff like
Yeah.
that? too?
Yeah, so I'm just calling it a liver. I'm feeling lateral motion. Lateral motion. More medial. I don't know, I mean, I'm amplifying it, so you
Yeah,
might be,
yeah.
you might be feeling my hands as much as you're feeling your own liver. So like anything else, like you feel free and easy or whatever. And then I could do unwinding, so if the motion is restricted. So I'm trying to picture the right kidney. That's good. But if it feels like it moves into flexion more than extension, I would follow the flexion motion and just kind of present the barrier to the rebound.
Mm. So you would do barrier to the rebound in
Yeah,
the organ?
Yeah,
Okay.
the same. And the principles are the same.
Mm.
It's nice to know the conventional path, that
Yeah.
the theory,
Well,
that
thank
makes
you,
sense.
that's great.
And then it would help to know the anatomy,
So,
you know,
Yeah.
where you
and
are.
also when you said flexion, were you talking about in the kidney itself? In which case, is it like the organ kind of shaping in a curve and then extending into a convex
Well, I don't think of it that way. I
No, I was
think of the
wondering what you
kidney
meant.
moving as a unit within the flow of the craniosacral muscle.
Okay,
I don't think of the kidney, what's
Okay.
internally happening.
so the
But maybe there's that too. I don't know. It could be.
happens with the uterus.
But working the connective tissue around the organs can help, because sometimes the organs actually get kind of like in a weird position slightly, right? Or is that not something, maybe that's not something you believe in?
I can imagine that an organ could,
Like I've had craniosacral people essentially like reposition my liver, for example. Like working on all of that in order to let the liver like settle into its place better.
yeah, that doesn't seem entirely implausible. But so in chiropractic though, okay, there's like the static view, which is like the bone is like out of place and it just replaces.
Right.
Or there's the dynamic view, which the bone is still continuously in its relationship with other bones north and south, but there's restricted mobility of that spinal segment. So I tend to be more biased towards like the dynamics model rather than
Yeah.
static. So I would say the same
Which
thing would be
may
true
be
with the
what-
liver.
Yeah.
It's not out of place. It's more like it's more like frozen or it's less
Yeah,
flow.
yeah.
So it's probably that means the same thing.
Yeah.
Just another way of talking about
And
it.
I may not have understood at the time because that.
No, it's another way of often thinking about the same thing.
Michelle, can I ask you a question? How did you work with the first
How did I work with them?
Yeah,
What do you mean? How?
like because
What did I do?
Yeah, how was your process? I was very interested.
He told me that he
Had multiple.
had a stroke and
Yes.
that it affected the right side of his body. And that was he's like, I feel fine right now, but like I said, is anything going on? He said, well, a lot has happened to me. And then he followed up with that information and I was like, okay, that's valuable. And so I had a feeling that I was gonna do some things up here that were about left, right. And so, but I started at his feet mainly because I felt more comfortable starting at his feet. And so I did that thing. And then.
Did you feel left, right difference?
I don't even remember
Yeah.
actually right now.
It wasn't huge.
It wasn't huge. It was more just kind of a general thing that I think I was feeling that was, well, it was definitely going towards the external. I remember that. And then I think right after his feet, I went straight up to the head and I did a series of things that made sense to me at the time. So first, I think I just did a little occipital, and then I did the wobble thing. And I could feel his pulse really strongly back here. And so that was like extra information that I was trying to be like, do I listen to this? Do I ignore this? Like, but I felt like there was definitely some more congestion on the right side or like difficulty on the right side. And then my invention was working on his arm and hand. And I basically just started by like the way that you started the first day by taking our arms and just being like, what's happening in the tissue. And so I took the forearm and I worked like up a little bit and then down into the hand and then I went up into the upper arm and shoulder a little bit. Oh, and I also before that I had worked across the chest a bit. I was kind of feeling like there was some diagonal happening here that I felt that I was kind of hanging out with for a bit. And then the arm, like I said earlier, it just felt like there was it was like a lot of information going in a lot of directions. And so I was just trying to like coax the different parts to connect to each other with very light touch, basically, and into all the way down to the fingers. And then I think I went back to his head at the end.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
What? Just like curious?
Yes, because I overheard what he said, and then I really want to.
He fell asleep.
Yes.
You heard him, right?
Yeah,
Totally,
he-
totally. He got very,
he was like the
very
most
relaxed.
serious, like medical case too. of the people that came.
Yeah.
Although he's also fine and he's functioning, but he still has a
Yeah.
long way to go to recover.
Yeah.
Was it recent?
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, for a stroke, that's pretty recent, right?
That is pretty
Well,
I
you know,
lived with
buy the
someone who had a
normal
stroke.
PT or rehab book. It's like whatever you regain in the first year, that's it. You know, you're not gonna make
That's
much more.
not true.
Of course, it can't possibly be true.
No.
But I'm sure that the curve could slow down.
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
and he's not someone you do, or you do connective tissue, I mean,
Craniosacral.
I
whatever.
do,
craniosacral.
I do some, but I'm mixing it with other things too.
Yeah,
That's actually another question I had is when do you determine that that is an effective mode of
Yeah, that's a good question.
rehab versus
something
Something
else.
else.
something else? Yeah.
That's a good question.
Because it's great and it feels relaxing and like if people are coming for craniosacral therapy, then you do that. But
Right.
if
If
it's
you have multiple offerings,
Yeah.
and they're just coming.
yeah,
That's a really good question.
yeah.
I usually don't, if I have like a specific therapeutic challenge, it would be actually unusual that I would pick craniosacral as the main treatment. That's just me. You know, I could be missing out on all kinds of opportunities that I don't realize. You know, because I also like my Bindiga-Vips massage method.
Yeah, that was really
Is
cool.
also connective tissue.
Right. And I'm also really big on posture and body alignment as a intervention. Lately in particular. I've spent 99% of my energy getting people not to stand like this. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
But so maybe having this workshop will inspire me to
To do
take it
more.
more.
Yeah.
And then the other limitation in what I do is I'll often mix and match craniosacral with other methods. So in terms of like some local spot, okay, maybe release this, but in terms of really getting into that mindset, I'm not giving it a chance in a way, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
if your usual expectation is I'm gonna see someone for 20 minutes, it's kind of hard to have that be your.
I could do a 20-minute craniosacral session if they get something out of it. I mean, my treatment time could be half an hour easily, so that's not a problem. You know, you can get it. too.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost did it.
So I'm curious what you would say about, because like, so I've worked with Jackie and I knew that she studied with Upledger and she has the CTT as well, and she combines them, but I didn't realize the extent to which craniosacral was CTT, was connective tissue focused. So I'm curious to what you would say about the connection between those two practices, how you experience them.
Yeah, well, they're both connective tissue practices. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. You know, they what do you call it? CT connective tissue treatment,
Connective
CTT.
tissue therapy.
You know what we're talking about? Too?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
okay.
I
Me
don't
too.
do the what is it in the German? But
Bindiga-Vips massage.
Bindiga-Vips.
I have my own proprietary name for it too. Neurotactile therapy.
nice.
Trademark. The thing I think that's the closest to is acupuncture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're tracing the line, like the depth of the needle is kind of the depth of the stroke,
Uh-huh.
and you're tracing these lines.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really true, but that's how I see it more than.
It is very nervous system balancing.
Yeah, but craniosacral addresses the
Is
same
too.
tissue level as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you always follow that specific pattern of the spine first. At least that's how I've
Typically,
experienced
but
it.
again, if a person has, like, you know, I don't do things by the book.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some negatives about that.
Yeah.
Because in Bindiga-Vips massage, you start with the pelvis and work your way up. You know, because here you're getting the maximal parasympathetic stimulation because the reflexes with the sacral nerves, etc. So even if a person has a frozen shoulder, you start in the pelvis. I don't usually do that.
Yeah.
So I will do a local area Bindiga-Vips massage.
Uh-huh.
And effectively.
Yeah.
But it's possible I'm missing out on yet a higher level, or higher level of like teaching them something more integrated about their body, so that I'm reinforcing that yes, they have a frozen shoulder, but you know what? You're not here for that. You're here for your life.
Yeah.
You know, get your life force going. So there's times I'm missing out on being able to convey that message to the way that I do.
Is it also effective as an assessment tool or same thing? You wouldn't necessarily, that's not your go-to assessment.
It's actually now become much more my go-to assessment.
Really?
So it's very light
Yeah.
outpatient.
Do you observe first? Because the people that I've seen
Not as much as I should.
look at the tissue first. And actually, my current craniosacral person looks at my tissue and makes some decisions before I get on the table.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't as much as I should.
I don't think
I'm
everybody
a
will
touch
see
more
it.
of a touch guy.
Yeah,
Except when it comes to alignment. Like I like to see how
Yeah.
you stand.
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to be a more, or to be effective in a different way, or to be more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always more to learn. But, you know, my choices in large part are I can't really say they're not arbitrary. It's just like whatever I'm in the mood to do. Like I don't be doing a lot of craniosacral this week. I guarantee it. Just because it's like, I see how great it is.
Yeah, same.
Is it because these people need it more than they need something else? I don't know. Too bad for them.
Yeah, well, could it also be like with the stroke that greatly affects, I assume, how people process more
What?
emotional stuff too?
Oh,
So it's like, would you probably work more craniosacrally with a person like that who likes the lighter touch and who likes like the connectivity more, or something like, or responds better to lighter touch and things like that?
Well, I'm not sure that you could say that he responds better to later touch.
That makes sense.
But would I would definitely, you know, think of craniosacral because of somebody who, well, just because of the brain
The brain,
issues.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing I was.
And I also would more typically turn to craniosacral if somebody has a history of physical abuse or physical.
That's what I'm also thinking.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that like.
Yeah, because it
tissue.
changes their
Yeah.
whole relationship with touch.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yeah, so that would bias me towards craniosacral for sure.
I'm also thinking like migraines or something like that. This might be more helpful
That's
for
tough.
than like just massaging areas.
Maybe, but I use a lot of the definitive as massaging the upper thoracic spine
That
for
makes
migraine
Oh,
as
really?
well. Yeah,
Cool.
because it you want to shift the blood flow away from the head and towards the periphery.
Makes sense.
But craniosacral would be good too. Well, some with jaw problems would be great, or sinus problems, what they call sinus, like the frontal lift, it opens up the sinus space.
I
You know,
tried that.
and
I
then maybe
tried
I'll do
that.
something.
Was it the parietal that you said try the like reverse thumb thing?
Yeah.
I think you just made it up on the spot.
Yeah, I
But
did.
I tried it today. At first I was doing it on the same side. That's not right.
No, because you want to
But
go
it feels
lift
really
here, but yeah,
Doing it feels really like it's doing that. Like it feels
awesome.
cool. I like it.
It's
It's
probably
almost-
exists. If I look
Yeah.
at
Like
Alice
when you
at
swap
the technique.
Like when you push the, like, I don't know how to do it this way, but like you cross and then it opens like.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad we invented something.
Fun.
Sinus problem. And then, or they'll do, that's somebody's sinus problem. Almost at the- Oh, I'm just feeling it. you know. So molding. So that would be a sinus problem.
Makes total sense.
All right. Should we stop this thing?
Well, this is truly exciting.
Thank
It was
you
really
so
great,
much for
honestly.
everything.
Thank you so much for